engagement in Iraq. The New York Times reports that US President Barack Obama is mobilising a so-called coalition of allies. The US hasn't formally made any requests to Australia, but the Defence Minister, David Johnston, has indicated a readiness by Australia.
As soon as we've seen, beheadings, mass executions, genocidal villages wiped out, ethnic cleansing, of course, the ADF immediately realises there is a potential and readiness begins to be developed.
Here at home, the government is continuing its crackdown on homegrown terrorism. New anti-terrorism units are being rolled out at international airports, including Sydney.
There will be an additional 80 Border Force officers stationed at international airports to monitor the movements of people on our national security watch lists. I'm advised that these new units have already intercepted at least one person.
That's the PM Tony Abbott speaking at Parliament yesterday. And just on Sunday, a man was detained at Sydney Airport. He was reportedly heading to the Middle East, carrying Islamic State material in his luggage. The package of new anti-terror laws and the focus on intercepting local radical Muslims hasn't been without controversy, with a suggestion that it unfairly targets Muslim communities in Australia. The ASIO Director-General, David Irvine, addressed those themes and those concerns in a speech to the National Press Club yesterday.
It's wrong to be blaming them for the sins of a tiny minority. And as the government has said increasingly in recent times, our fight is with terrorism, it is not with Islam, and it is not with our Muslim community.
Dr. Jamal Rifi is a Lakemba GP and a Muslim community commentator and leader and joins me this morning. Dr. Rifi, good morning.
Good morning to you, Robbie.
Yeah, so obviously there's a lot of debate going on within the community about these terrorism laws. Has it been divisive?
We definitely had different views and opinions, but that's always been the case in our community. And it is a rich tapestry, and everyone has their own view, and it's nothing new. Everyone is exercising their democratic right, but I think we need to just wait, discuss the anti-terror law with the government, see the fine print of it, and then pass judgment. I think it has been premature to pass any judgments on these laws for the time being.
You spoke with the head of ASIO, David Irvine, yourself just recently. Were you relieved to hear his comments at the press club yesterday?
What he said yesterday, he did reiterate the same about 2 weeks ago when I did interview him on the radio, Voice of Islam. And he spoke even more in depth about these issues. And to be honest, I was quite relieved 2 weeks ago for what he said on air to our Muslims community. And what he reiterated yesterday, it just reinforced his views. And he is one of the few people in Australia who had an in-depth and a good insight into the functioning of our community, the ideas that exist, and also working together with the authority into lessening the risk that Australia may face from homegrown terror or from people coming from overseas. I was very relieved to hear what he said, definitely.
That said, there obviously is a concern in Australia about the potential for homegrown terrorism, and we've seen the proposal for these anti-terrorism laws. Do you think they are fair, and do you think they'll have an effect?
Robbie, let me tell you that probably the concern in the Australian Muslims community is much greater than wider society. First of all,
you're talking about radicalisation?
Absolutely, yes. And at the same time, because our young people, they have been targeted by this erroneous ideology of the Islamic State. But at the same time, we are concerned with the anti-terror law because we haven't seen the fine detail. We wanted to make sure that innocent people, Muslims or non-Muslim, that they don't get in the trap of these legislation. And in the principle, anything that protects Australia, it protects us. And any action that is going to be taken place, it's unfortunately in the sense that we've been lucky in Australia that we haven't had any terror actions on home soil. We have been hit in Bali, but we haven't seen anything like what happened in New York, London, or Spain.
Although there have been some plans that have been foiled.
Absolutely. And we are aware of that. And these plans that have been foiled, actually the first probably alert came from within our community. And that's why the pandemic was very successful. And that's what we want. We want our community to be alert. We want our community to work with the government, because any potential action, it will affect us much more than anyone else, because we live here, and this is our country, and we want the safety and security of this country and its citizens is of utmost importance to us.
Yeah, Dr. Jamal Rifi with us this morning here on 702 ABC Sydney. You have been outspoken as a member of the Muslim community, outspoken about those Australians and the Sydney-siders who have travelled overseas to fight in the Islamic State. And that has brought you some serious death threats. How have you responded to that?
Robbie, look, I am outspoken for many, many years, and I always have spoken my mind within our community. Now, this issue, all what I have said before in Arabic, I'm saying it in English, and now the wider society is hearing me. There was a perception, in my view, that those radical elements within our community and ISIS propaganda wanted to send the message to Australians as a whole that they have a foothold in Australia and they have large support, while in reality, and I know they don't, they probably have a tiny minority that supports their black ideology, but it is tiny minority, except they're using social networks and media to highlight and magnify their support. And I wanted to actually tell everyone that is not the case. And I think because I counteracted their propaganda and I spoke the language common people speak, and also I went on air, they felt threatened by the fact that they wanted to actually make our young people believe in their cause, while in reality, ISIS and ISIS ideology are the enemy of Islam. And I wanted our young people to understand that. And that's why I had discussion and we've spoken with many of our community leaders about the fact that we need to go publicly and we need to repeat all the time about the fact that ISIS does not have the support, and we need to tell our young people that this ideology falsely claims about jihad, they shouldn't be supported, and they should know their religions better. Yeah.
It must be concerning, though, for you and your family to have those sorts of threats made against you.
Look, absolutely. I mean, there is no way, if I tell you it didn't affect us, it did. But the beauty of thing is my wife, my kids, they know the value of what I am doing, and they do support me, and their support is of importance to me. And also, I think I have enough credibility and support within the community to protect me. And I'm very fortunate that I live in a country where democratic rights give me that privilege to speak my mind without fear of reprisal, the same way as the radicals, they have been exercising that right without fear of reprisal, and I should have afforded the same privileges. Now, I think the debate is wide enough to have their views be heard, but also my views be heard. I know I'm not the only one that has been intimidated. I know 4 cases of our community leaders that have been targeted, but I was the one that publicly was threatened, and I've decided probably the best way is not to go inside my shell. It's just on the contrary, to go out, express my view, and what can they do? They already threatened me, and right now I'm just hoping that they will not be able to carry with this threat, because I'm just expressing my views that I believe the wide majority of Australian Muslims believe in it.
All right. Dr. Rifi, thank you very much, and thank you for your courage.
Thank you, Robbie.
Dr. Jamal Rifi there, Lakemba GP, Muslim community leader and commentator, I guess, reflecting on some of those issues that are floating around in conversations after the rollout or the proposal of these